So all the Arab countries have now cut Donald Trump out of negotiations with Iran, and they're making their own deals with him, and he is trying to save face. Here's the history.
So they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait.
Now, it's very important that you remember the names of these countries, but this is what Trump said when they closed the strait.
Nobody expected that. We were shocked.
As a matter of fact, everybody expected that. Even the war generals that he let go, because they told him that. But we've been claiming this for over, 15, 16 years now.
A war with Iran would be a disaster. It is also perfectly within the capability of the Iranians to close the Straits of Hormuz at the gates of the Persian Gulf and drive the cost of oil up over $200 a barrel, which would probably destroy what's left of the global economy and the division of labor and global trade. And all for basically a policy that comes out of Tel Aviv.
Now, when Trump thought he had the upper hand and told everybody he had obliterated all of their air defenses and that he sunk the entire Navy, he said this.
They are crazy, and we're not going to put it up. Yeah, I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. We're spending money. And so what we've done is we are going to be reimbursed for protection. We're protecting by the countries that we're helping. For instance, you look at the 5 countries. You have Saudi Arabia, you have UAE, you have Qatar, or Qatar as I always say, you have Qatar, Bahrain, and by the way, you have others. You have Kuwait, and you have others. And
see, this is how you know you're messing with a stone cold dummy and a rookie. Because everybody knows you don't tell what you're doing in a war. So Iran said, oh, you protected them?
Of Iranian missile and drone strikes, this U.S. military base in the Gulf is transformed. This is Camp Buehring in Kuwait, a vast desert hub for American forces. It's one of many U.S. military facilities in the oil-rich Arabian Peninsula targeted by Iran, even as the U.S. and Israel pummeled its large arsenal. So just how hard has America's footprint in the Middle East been hit?
A CNN investigation found evidence of unprecedented destruction. We can reveal that strikes damaged at least 16 U.S. installations across 8 countries.
Iran also says it targeted U.S. assets in Oman, Jordan, and elsewhere, and it is threatening the ports of its Gulf neighbors.
Trump cancels strike on Iran, says that a deal is imminent. I think by my count, Dr. Paul, this is about 41 times that he has said that. We're talking with Iran. A deal is imminent. It's just around the corner. And so claims that this deal is imminent are also about as phony as his claims that Iran asked him to not bomb them. So the problem is he's got a huge credibility gap, Dr. Paul. People just don't believe him anymore.
So when Donald Trump was asked by a reporter aboard Air Force One, what prompted you to call off the strikes, Trump says, I was asked by Saudi Arabia, by UAE, by Qatar, and by Iran. We were all set to go just about at this time right now, and it would have been a massive attack. We were all set to go, but when the allies asked to call it off, you got to sort of say, well, let's see. And the reason they asked is they think there's a deal. There's a deal on Hormuz, and then there will be a deal on the nuclear. You might call it the denuclearization of Iran. So
now, you know that these countries all got together and said, get the fuck out of the way. You fucking shit up. And they want to do the deals without Donald Trump. That's the real story.
Furious world leaders are ditching Donald Trump in the United States, and they are frantically reaching out to Iran, trying to cut deals directly with Iran, recognizing how catastrophically erratic and irreparably so the United States has become under Donald Trump and Trump's despicable regime. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson went on their state TV and talked about how he received calls in the past 24 hours from the United Kingdom, from Ukraine, from Bulgaria, and numerous other countries saying that they do not want any part in any escalation of war with Iran and that they want to cut deals directly with Iran. Also, we know that Saudi Arabia and Qatar's foreign ministers both spoke with Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran, and then both the Qatari and the Saudi and the Pakistani foreign ministers, as well as Field Marshal Munir of Pakistan, all reached out to Donald Trump and pressured him not to escalate the catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran, also reminding him that he has run out of Patriot interceptors, THAAD interceptors, Navy destroyers, and that any semblance of future relations between the United States and those Arab nations would be completely severed if Donald Trump escalated this catastrophic war in Iran.
At this point, the only people that I believe in Trump are his cabinet members and maybe some diehard MAGA fans, but Trump ain't talking to nobody. That's why we're hearing Trump say, they need to make a deal with Oman because they're not talking to America. They cut him out, and he's trying to save face. I'm just saying.
Yet again, between Iran and the United States is what we know. You just mentioned what President Trump has said, told reporters in the White House yesterday, that decapitation line. He also said that the Iranian leadership is unbelievably duplicitous, along with many other things that he said about the state of the negotiations. He still maintains that negotiations between the U.S. and Iran are ongoing. Now, from the Iranian side, we heard from the foreign ministry, Vani, that active discussions between Iran and the U.S. are actually not happening. Iran has maintained the line again that it will send delegates, it will send mediators to send messages on its behalf, but its top negotiators are not having any discussions with the United States. Meanwhile, other negotiations are going on. We are aware of them. We reported them last week. They're happening into the beginning of this week, and those are between Iran and Oman. And that's really to open up a pathway, if you were, in the Strait of Hormuz, a middle passageway to help ships and vessels start to make their way through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, we don't know what exactly the talks entail or what exactly the mechanisms are to open up the Strait of Hormuz, but what we understand is that both are in discussions to either demine the Strait of Hormuz and help ships take this pathway that was not really open to ships throughout the course of this war. As you know, Iran has been asking ships and vessels to stick to a route that it had laid out, which is closest to its borders on the northern side of the Strait of Hormuz. Any other pathway leaves ships and vessels open to the risk of being attacked. And even into the early hours of this morning or overnight, Vani, ships were getting attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, this is all happening while the U.S. maintains its naval blockade on Iranian ports. And so we're watching the whole space. We're watching what negotiations is President Trump in fact referring to and whether those are happening or about to happen. He maintains they did happen despite the Iranian denial. Iran says no chance those are happening, that the mediators will be involved. We haven't heard from either Pakistan or Qatar. We know that President Trump said that Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman had reached out to him and said and pleaded that a return to diplomacy was the choice here, the best choice here, and that attacks are not favorable to countries in the region, that is the GCC.